I'm on. Hey, family. If this content is blessing you, teaching you, or opening your eyes to a new way of healing and living, do me a small favor that makes a big difference. Hit that subscribe button. I mean, when you subscribe, you're not just following a channel, you're helping this message reach the people who need to hear it the most. You're helping us spread the word about indigenous herbal knowledge, cellular hydration, natural healing education, and most importantly, community empowerment. So, before you leave this video, subscribe, join the movement, grow with us. I mean, it's just like one click for you, but it's a world of impact for others. And thank you for being a part of the ICM Wellness family. All right, guys, want to welcome you to another edition of the ICM Wellness podcast. Really happy to have you, and I hope that, again, I'll share some information that will, change your life. If anybody told me that it would have been this difficult to get people to understand the importance of water, I would have said no way. But I want to thank you guys for joining me. Just want to encourage you to share the live. I want to get this message out to as many persons as is possible, or share this message with as many persons as possible. It's really been a very challenging experience. I thought that the uptake would have been so much greater because there are so many people who don't understand the importance of healing. I'm so passionate. I want to get this knowledge out to as many persons as possible. If you're in natural medicine, or if you're a medical doctor, if you're a nurse, believe me, I want to get this message out to you. And whatever any question that you have, please feel free to ask me. I'm putting together another book that will be geared towards explaining how hydration is interpreted as the many diseases that we now have, because there's such a huge misconception out there. And I'm telling you, a lot of the persons that I work with, there are many persons that come to us who really just want to tell them about the next pill and tell them about the next herb. And I just want you to understand that, we do promote herbs. We do promote, as a matter of fact, let me just tell you what a visit and what protocol looks like with us. So it first starts out with a consultation. As a matter of fact, there's a link on our website that's entitled Cellular, Quantum Cellular Assessment. I'll talk about the link later and tell you how to get there. But that's where it starts from. So we now start first from hydration. And that quantum assessment is designed to determine your extent, the degree of dehydration. Because if you're sick, there's no question about it. There's a high likelihood, a very high likelihood that you are dehydrated. However, we need to know the extent of your dehydration to know how to start the program with you. If you're visiting any one of our clinics here in Jamaica, then there's an additional layer that we do, which is our quantum assessment. And then once we do that quantum assessment, in addition with the cellular hydration assessment, we use that now to guide you as it relates to what's happening with your health. Of course, this is non-invasive, unless the person's, it's really for information purposes only. But once you do that assessment, then that is now going to guide us as it relates to what is going to be your way forward. As I said, 90% of the persons who walk through our door, their disease is rooted in dehydration. The next 10% may be toxins or parasites or unique conditions, but 90%, roughly 90%, I said 95, but it's really 90 to 95%. I'll use a conservative figure. I said 90% of the persons walking through the door their disease is rooted in dehydration. And even if it's not 90 or 95%, I said the best place to start from is hydration. You want to ensure that you're hydrated first, because a lot of times, a lot of the conditions, a lot of the diseases are the discomfort that persons are going through, that they think they need to remediate or to correct with herbs or to correct with drugs. Most of the time, it is rooted in dehydration. So I said that's the first place to start. And so once we have pretty much seen you, what we're going to do is we're going to put together a hydration program that's going to be divided into 3 parts. One, so we're going to find out the weight of your body, and that's going to tell us how much hydration you should be taking. Depending on the extent and the degree of your dehydration, we're not going to start with the amount, because most persons can't absorb or intake the amount of hydration that they need to take in, simply because when the body becomes dehydrated, one thing that the body does to protect itself is that it shuts down the body's hydration pathway system. And so in order to open that hydration pathway system, it has to be done gradually over a period of time. So usually what we do is we start the person off with a half of what their body's weight is. And that's about 1 liter for every 1 liter or 32 ounces for every 50-pound body weight, which means if you're 150 pounds, then you should be on 3 liters of hydration for the day. And when I say hydration, I don't just mean water. So it's going to be 3 liters of hydration fluid. Most persons, because they are really chronically dehydrated, can't start with that amount. So we start them off with a half of that amount and work them up over a 1-week period to the amounts that they should. And so that dehydration, that rehydration, liquid is going to be divided into 3 groups. So it's going to be divided into water, it's going to be divided into teas or herbal teas, and it's going to be divided into coconut water or some potassium broth or some potassium-based liquid. All right. So it's going to be, again, water. First group of the liquid is divided into water. Then the second group, the second item is teas, and those teas are going to be divided into about 3 or 4 herbal teas. And what we do is we basically use the condition that is prevailing and the discomforts that you're having to determine what type of herbal teas those are going to be. So you're going to get 3 or 4 of those, and then you're going to get a potassium broth. So of course we push herbs because of the if you're, for example, having poor circulation, there's going to be a circulation-based tea that's designed for you. If you're having indigestion or stomach problems, there's going to be a herbal tea that's crafted and personalized for you. If it is that you're having any type of ailment, any type of disease, in your hydration protocol, there's going to be factored herbs, and those herbs are going to be determined based on the discomfort that you present. And then we're going to have you on some potassium-based product. And then we are going to revisit your diet. We're going to give you a shopping list, and a diet plan as well for about 90 days. And the program is for about 90 days, guys. So that's in a nutshell what it is. And of course, if you have any, what we call it, ailments outside of the 90% dehydration root cause, then we're going to target those in particular. So, and then one thing that we're doing is, because in Jamaica right now, as I say, it's getting more difficult to get herbs out, and so we can't send out herbs as we used to. So what we're doing now, and that's a plus for you, what we're doing now is it's a plus for you, but it's a little more work for you. So what we're doing now is that after that consultation, we're going to formulate, we're going to do a formulation for you, and we're going to send you the herbs. So we're going to use the herbs that are present right now. We can only ship herbs to persons who are in the US or who are in Canada. We're working on ways around the other, getting herbs to persons in other countries. And so I just want to use this point to underscore the importance of getting this indigenous knowledge out to you. As I said to you, the next great crisis is going to be a food and medicine crisis. And so because of that, my goal is really to help as many of you as is possible. If you're a budding herbalist, if you're interested, then we want to help you. And so when we send you that herb, those herbs, and after building that formulation, what we're going to do is we're going to guide you how to formulate that medicine, how to take your own health in your hands. So it's going to involve you getting involved. This is how medicine has always been. It's really to empower persons to help themselves. Your health is your responsibility, and the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. And so that's in a nutshell what our program is like. So if this is something that you'd want to be a part of, if you would want to take your own health in your own hands and learn a few things along the way, then I really you can reach out to us so we can get the process going. What I'm saying to persons is that the body heals itself. The body heals itself. That healing is an involuntary, natural process. And just like our healing is an involuntary, natural process, disease is an involuntary, natural process as well. And if you're not in the process of healing, then you are in the disease stage. And that is how I want to help you. A lot of persons out there are of the belief that they need to take this or they need to take that, take on the burden of what is it that they need to get their health back. Well, I want to tell you that that's not a burden, that's not a responsibility for the conscious mind. As it relates to physical healing is an involuntary process. All we have to do is to ensure that the right environment is met and the body does what it does best, which is healing itself. Last night, as I thought about getting ready to do this presentation, as I said, it's a bit discouraging because I thought that the uptake would be greater. I thought that I would be getting a lot of questions. I thought that I would be getting a lot of feedback, but it's not like that. You're almost tempted to go. I'm almost not me, but one is almost tempted to go along with the status quo that was established. What is that status quo? That status quo is a person comes to you with a health condition and you just give them something to take. People are brainwashed. People are, for the most part, convinced into thinking that what they need to get better is to take something, take a pill or take supplement or something. The big pharma and the medical industry has done a very good job in convincing persons that, in order to get better, in order to get back their health, they need to take something. And so I want to break this down in a series that I'm going to start. It's called Cellular Voltage Hydration and the Root of Disease. And this is going to be part one. And I'm going to start with the question modern medicine avoids. The question modern medicine avoids. And I'm going to do my utmost best to break it down. Last night I went in town and I saw a client that I'd seen earlier. And I just want to say, this is, sometimes there's so much discouragement, but you meet persons who really encourage you and want you to go on, want you to do what I'm doing. And so I had this client this week, a young man. I knew him before. He had some health issues and he came in and I listened to him. He explained to me what was happening to him. And then I started to share with him how dehydration is at the root of his condition and what he needed to do to get better. I saw him last night and he said, Dr. Ben, after leaving you, the first thing I did was I began to research all that you were saying to me. I can't believe it. I couldn't believe that getting better was so simple. One of the things that we gave him was a rehydration compound. And he said that I took the rehydration compound and I placed it in some water, and within about 20 minutes, I felt completely different. I mean, it's not my mind. I felt so completely different. I was with him for about maybe 40 minutes. And while I was sitting there, because this, of course, this is in Port Antonio, the town of Port Antonio, I was going to the bank and to do a transaction because I normally go there at nights. And while I was there, he was just calling over persons, and he was calling over persons. And I said, well, when I saw him first, I said, Dr. Ben, come on over, man. This is one of my friends, and I've been telling him that he needs to come and see you. And while I was there talking to him, he was just he was inviting so many persons in the discussions that I was having. Listen to me, man. I felt so elated. I am so glad I left my house last night. And I'm so glad for persons like that, because what I don't want to do is I don't want to take your health in my hands. I want to guide you. I want to empower you to take your health in your own hands. My reason for doing all of this talking, I hope it's not boring. I hope it's not boring, because most persons who come on want me to talk about the next herb, the next this, the next that. But I'm telling persons, guys, when you were in your mother's belly, there was no herb that was present. The foundation of healing, life development, was not hinged on a herb. It was hinged on hydration and nutrition. And so that's where I want to start. We're going to talk about herbs, and I'm going to have a part of the program. I'm going to talk about herbs, because remember I said to you that the hydration protocol that I put persons on, it involves water plus minerals. Then it involves teas, which are herbal teas, which are formulations of 4 to 6 herbs. And then, of course, it involves some form of potassium-based solution that the person will take to help to balance them. Right, and then there are supplements, and there are a few things outside of that. But I'm happy because there isn't anybody who walks into our office now who, because of money, walk away not beginning their healing process, because the hydration solution that we give persons, I've made sure it's very, very, very affordable. It's like $1,000 Jamaican dollars, about $5 US, and you start to get results right away. So I'm really happy about that. So today I want to talk about what I call cellular voltage, hydration, and the root of disease. This is part 1. I'm going to start by looking at the question modern medicine avoids. The question modern medicine avoids. And I'm going to start by asking the question, why do cells lose their ability to heal? Because what you have to understand, guys, that your health is based on the state of your cells, right? Your health based on the state of your cells. The cell is the basic unit of who we are. And so we want to start there. We want to ask the question, if the body heals itself, why do cells lose their ability to heal? And I want to start off by saying that cells never forget how to heal. As a matter of fact, you know, when we are conceived in the womb, and we are growing, we are developing, the minute we are born as mammals, one of the things that we do automatically is we start out life. Our first food is a food that carries intelligence, which is a mother's breast milk. What is in that breast milk? As a matter of fact, you know, when we are born, there's not just because not all the breast milk is equal. Some parts of the breast milk is more powerful than some, and there's an initial part of the breast milk that's called the colostrum. Now, the colostrum is the first part, or the first breast milk that we get when we are born. And apart from the proteins that is in that colostrum, there is also antibodies that is passed on from our mother to us. There is also intelligence that is passed on to us. So our mother, throughout her life, would have gotten sick. And sometimes to the point where she experiences symptoms, but also to the point where she does not experience symptoms. So our mother, while she's alive, the body has a memory bank. So while the body is healing you, the body stores that information, all the information of how our mother overcome all the attacks that she experienced throughout her lifetime. That information is stored, and that information is passed on to us through colostrum. So because we are very young and we are coming into a new world, we wouldn't have lived long enough. Our immune system wouldn't be old enough to know how to defend itself against the pathogens and the bacteria that we experience immediately that we come into this world. So what happens is that we start out with the experience of our mother. All the diseases, all the bacteria, all the viruses, all the pathogens that our mother experienced and the body overcome, whether with symptoms or not. Once the body overcome those diseases, overcome those pathogens, overcome those viruses, the body stores that information, and that information is passed on to the child through breastfeeding. And that is the reason why breastfeeding is so important. So we start out right away with our mother's intelligence in our system that prepares us for the bacteria and the viruses that we are going to be exposed to. So the body never forgets that. The body never forgets how to heal. That information is stored in the body. And so what causes the body to lose its ability to heal? It's very important. And let me say that the body lose the conditions required to do so because of the right environment that is not being met. So the body doesn't forget how to heal. They lose the conditions required to do it. And healing is not something the body tries to do, right? So healing is natural. Healing is involuntary. The body doesn't try. Healing is something the body automatically does when the environment is correct. So the body loses its ability to heal because the environment that is necessary for healing to take place, the body loses that environment. When these conditions collapse, the body doesn't stop healing. It simply cannot complete the healing process. And so what we need to understand is we expose our body to a lot of abuse. We expose our body to a lot of, voluntarily. You think about it. You know, people who are drinking alcohol are voluntarily reducing their body's ability to heal. People who take crack cocaine, they are voluntarily reducing the body's ability to heal. People who eat high sugary foods, high processed foods, are preventing the body to heal naturally. You are voluntarily, so we voluntarily reduce the body's ability to heal. People who are on a high meat diet are voluntarily reducing the body's ability to heal. So we voluntarily reduce the body's ability to heal because healing is an involuntary process. We create that ability for the body not to heal just by producing the environment that reduces the body's ability to heal. Last week I said that the cells of the body have a range. There's a range of voltage necessary for the body to heal itself. And so that range of voltage is anywhere from about 25 to 30 millivolt. And I'm gonna get into it today. I'm gonna try to get some information to you that is gonna revolutionize your life. And so that is something that we do. We voluntarily reduce the body's ability to heal, and then we wonder when we get sick. So there's 3 stages. So I call it the healing stage. There are 3 stages that the cells are basically in. There is either in one, which is called the healing stage, where the cells have a particular voltage that allows healing to take place. Then there's what we call the disease stage, which once the voltage drops, and you drop into this cellular voltage range, then the body is in a disease range. Now, this disease range has about 3 major stages. There's a mild, moderate, and a severe stage. So the mild stage is where you are in a disease stage, but but you're not yet experiencing symptoms. All right, so a lot of people are in the disease stage, but they're not experiencing serious symptoms because most people don't know their bodies, because most people don't study their body or understand their body. Once your body falls in a disease stage, it begins to tell you, it begins to communicate to you, but most people don't pay attention. So they say, oh, well, I'm okay. Then if they don't do anything, they continue into the moderate disease stage where it starts to get uncomfortable, but most people don't have their health to think about. They have, more serious matters like, making money or finishing their degree or, starting a family. Most people have more important things to do than to really think about their health. Most people know more about their bank book, know more about their car. They know more about so many things that they do about their health, because really and truly, your health is not really serious. And then they ignore what's happening until they reach what I call the chronic disease range, where symptoms begin to manifest. And then people say, wow, I was healthy all along, and then I just found myself sick. And I'm saying the person's disease is not an event. Disease doesn't just happen. It's a process. It took time to develop. It took time to progress to reach where it were. You weren't paying attention. And usually, because what the body does, how the body works is, when you fall into the disease range, the body communicates to you and tells you that something is wrong, but you don't pay attention. I'm so tempted to go into so many rabbit holes right now, because I see so many people who are sick, and when they come, they tell you about the symptoms that they're having. I tell, and I'm going to use this example. For example, most women don't know what a normal menstruation cycle looks like. And so usually they don't know that something is wrong with them until it gets real chronic. So a normal menstruation should be bright red. Right? A normal menstruation should be about 4 to 5 days. A normal menstruation should not have blood that's black or purple. Most women don't know that. Most women don't know that they shouldn't be feeling the severe cramps that they're feeling. A lot of persons just don't know when the body is telling them that something is wrong until it gets real chronic. And then when it gets chronic, then this is something is wrong. So most people begin to take their health serious once they're in a chronic disease stage. And I said to persons that a chronic disease stage is the end stage of a disease. It's not the beginning, it's the end stage. It's a chronic stage. This is when it becomes more difficult to help. This is when it becomes more difficult. And so you need to understand that you need to take your health serious, so that even before you reach the stage of chronic disease, you start taking your health into hand. So it's very important. So there's the disease stage where most persons take their health serious, usually when they start to feel pain. And this is how the body works, guys, because not only does the body heal itself, the body protects itself. So what the body does is that when the body sends you a message and you ignore it, what the body does is that it escalates and it escalates and it escalates, and it will not stop escalating until it gets your attention. And the body knows that usually we pay attention, or we start paying attention when we start to feel pain. So pain is the body's last escalation stage to get our attention. So if it is that you're feeling pain, it's chronic inflammation, it's chronic. And I wonder why people, and I don't want to knock you. There are people who are believers. There are people who are spiritual believers who abuse their body until it reaches the stage where it becomes chronic before they take themselves important. These are the people, these are people who say sometimes my body is a temple. Why would you allow your temple to be desecrated, to be violated, until it reaches a stage where it becomes chronic, to take your health in the hands? As I said, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. I want persons, because there are many persons who this happens to, not because they want it to happen, but because they're ignorant. They don't know any better. There are some persons who know better, who voluntarily abuse their bodies. This is not for you. I'm trying to get to those persons who ignorantly violate their bodies, who destroy their temple, who don't know any better. and who would do better if they knew. This is why I'm doing this presentation. So there's a healing stage, which is about 25 to 30. And in this presentation, I'll talk about 20 to 25, but it's about 20 to 30 millivolts. Then there's a disease range, and then there is, let me show you, and I'm gonna talk about it. So this is the cell, a healthy cell. And a healthy cell has a strong electrical charge. Healthy cell has a strong electrical charge. Within a healthy cell, there's efficient nutrient uptake. Within a healthy cell, there is effective toxin removal. In a healthy cell, there is high cellular hydration. In a healthy cell, there is optimal oxygen utilization. So this is a healthy cell. When a person is healthy, usually most persons, when they are born, we are born in this range of healthy cells. We are born about 75, I said, to 80% water. We are 75 to 80% hydrated. And so because of that, there's a strong electrical charge around the cells. For those persons who do what is called live blood analysis, when they take a sample of a person's blood who is healthy and put it on the microscope, they're going to see that the cells are fully round, or they are fully hydrated. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to use the word round, but they are fully, what's the word now? They are fully round. Let me use the word round for now. That's not the word I want to use, but they are fully round. Now, I want you to look within the cell membrane. Within the cell membrane, you can see that there are some little round substance. The cell membrane also is very, when the cell membrane is healthy, it's thick because it's hydrated. It has within it what we call the H3O2, which is what gives it its round structure. It has water in its gel form, and within that water in the gel form, there is protein, there is potassium, there's sodium, there's magnesium, there's calcium. These are the essential salts that are necessary for the cell to be healthy. And I'm going to talk about this a little later on, but that's a healthy cell. Now, then there's a third stage, which is what we call the cancer. Let me just show you what that looks like. The cancer cells, and I'm going to talk about those. We're going to talk about what are cancer cells. You know, guys, you know, you just stick with this entire presentation. It's going to be a long series, but I'm going to break it down for you. And so these are the three states that the cells are in. So there is the healthy, the disease, and the cancer. Three possible states that the cells are in. So there's healthy cell range, the disease cell range. If the body falls below the disease cell range, it falls into what we call the cancer cell range. And I'm going to talk about that throughout this series. All right. Now, it's very important for persons to understand that, because I talked about it for Dr. Sebi. When a person came to Dr. Sebi, Dr. Sebi understood that you were in one of these three ranges, one of these three stages. And so he wasn't driven by the name of the disease. You know, a lot of persons take pride in being able to pronounce the names of their diseases. As I said in my last broadcast, one of the evidence that man has touched anything or stated anything is complexity. Once man touches something, it is evident because it is presented in a very complex way. Nature is very simple, and that's the way the Creator intended it to be. It should be very simple. And so man coins and creates terms and names to explain and to describe simple things in nature that comes across as being very complex, very complicated, and prevents the average person from understanding, or even prevents the average person from believing that they can understand their body enough to help themselves. This is one of the devices that is used to deter persons from taking their health into their own hands. And so healing is an involuntary, natural process when the conditions are contact. Healing is an automatical biological response, not a conscious effort. And as I said in my previous presentation, that what modern medicine is guilty of is modern medicine is guilty of what I call the sin of misappropriation. The sin of misappropriation. What is the sin of misappropriation? The sin of misappropriation is what the Creator intended to be simple, what the Creator intended to be a voluntary process. Modern medicine have made it into a task. Healing is a simple, involuntary process. And because of our lifestyle, because of our ignorance, we have made it into a task. So we have to take all these supplements. We have to take all these medications. We have to do this. We have to do that in order to heal. When you get a cut, there's nothing that you have to do for that wound to heal. When you get pregnant, there's nothing that you have to do for that child to develop. When you eat food, there's nothing that you have to do for your body to metabolize or to utilize that nutrients. If you have diabetes, you shouldn't have to take a particular herb or take a particular drug to get better. If you have constipation, you shouldn't have to take something to go to the bathroom. You shouldn't have to. If it is not happening, it means the right environment is not met for your healing to be a voluntary process. You shouldn't have to take something to sweat. You shouldn't have to take something to pass your urine. These are natural, involuntary process that the body does in order to heal and to maintain healing. And so cells are designed to repair their membranes. They are designed to replace damaged proteins. They're designed to regenerate tissues. They're designed to neutralize inflammation. This happens without permission, without belief, and without motivation. Healing is a natural process. And so, why is it not happening? Why isn't the body healing itself? Cells can only heal when they have adequate hydration. No, when I talk about hydration, a lot of the persons that I see, when I tell them that, your healing starts with adequate hydration, one of the persons will say to me is, Dr. Ben, what you're saying couldn't be correct because that's the furthest thing from the truth because, I drink a lot of water. And my response to that is that hydration is not based alone, or hydration is not water consumption. Hydration is cellular absorption. It's not the amount of water that you drink that matters. It's the amount of water that you absorb. Most persons are drinking the wrong type of water, and they're drinking water incorrectly, which means that they are dehydrated. It's one of the reasons why most people are dehydrated. One of the reasons why most people are dehydrated because they're drinking the wrong type of water, which I'm going to talk about in this series, and they also are not absorbing the water on a cellular level. So they're drinking the wrong type of water, they're drinking water the wrong way. So water needs, the body, the cells cannot heal adequately if there's not adequate hydration. If there's also not sufficient minerals, right? So this is very important. The body won't heal if there's not proper electrical charge. We're going to talk about that. The body will not heal if there's not functional cell membranes. And the body won't heal if oxygen and nutrient flow is not happening. We're going to talk about that. So if any one of these is missing, healing slows or stops. Healing is not voluntary. Healing is based on, or the loss of healing is environmental. So the body heals itself. And if the body is not healing itself, then it is because, as I tell persons, when voltage drops, healing stops.
Fatigue isn't a mystery. You're just severely dehydrated and don't even know it. Indigenous Caribbean medicine practitioner Dr. Ben Yisrael discovered that 90% of his clients weren't actually sick. They were thirsty. In his groundbreaking book, The Cellular Hydration Revolution, he reveals how proper hydration can eliminate inflammation, boost energy, and help you lose weight naturally. No expensive supplements needed, just water done right. Get your copy today and discover the healing power your body's been craving.
All right, so I've documented my findings in this book that is entitled The Cellular Hydration Revolution, and I really would encourage you guys to go there. As I said, the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. As I said in the show, when doctor said he found out what I found out and what I'm sharing with you, he put an ad in the paper. You know, when somebody comes, it's almost I want to cut their head. I want to tell them. I just want to get them to understand that hydration is at the root of their disease. Hydration is at the root of their disease. And guys, I could just go on and on, but I really want to get this message out there to you. And so I said the persons, there are a lot of persons out there who think that, you know, they need to take the next herb. And as I said, you know, herbs are important. Herbs are part of the hydration protocol. When we send the herbs, we'll write a formula for you. We'll write a formula for you, a personal formula for you. So I'll take into account the medications that you're on. So we'll get a list of the medications that you're on. So there's no contraindication. I will put together a formulation for you to help reverse, to help you, to give the body the raw material that it needs. So you're going to be on water with minerals. You know, the first presentation I did was what I call the formula for life, H3O2 plus N, which is mineral, plus A equals hydration. So we're going to ensure that at the root of your issue, hydration is met, and then we're going to give you the second part of your hydration is going to be herbal teas. Herbal teas, 3 to 4 herbal teas that you're going to take that are targeting the weakest systems, because the body's about 12 systems, and when you get sick, usually it's one of those systems that are usually very weak. So the teas are going to target your weakest systems, and then we're going to give you the third part of your hydration protocol is going to be a potassium base, because if you check your minerals profile, when you do a blood test, if you look on the mineral sodium, it's going to be the highest. And so in order to balance out the sodium, we use coconut water, or we use some other hydration that is potassium based to help bring about that balance. All right, so the real reason cells stop healing is because of what I call voltage drop. Healthy cells operate in a high energy electrical state. Disease cells exist in a low energy electrical state. And so, as I said, when voltage drop, healing stops. And so there's a sodium potassium pump that when that becomes weakened, then healing stops. So let me show you the cell again. Now, so this is the cell. Now, as I said to you, I don't know if you can see my mouse, but I want you to look at that membrane that goes around the cell, that membrane. Now, that membrane is what gives the cell its structure. That membrane has what we call, it has H3O2, which is what gives it its fully, I'm trying to find the word, it's round structure. It's round structure, all right? It's round shape. It's not only in animal cells, but it's also in plant cells as well. Now, when a plant, if you take a plant and you begin to dehydrate the plant, what begins to happen is that the gel water within that cell wall begins to be reduced, which means that the cell wall, so there's an outer cell wall and an inner cell wall. That outer cell wall and inner cell wall, it begins to get smaller. Not only that, but the outer cell wall and the inner cell wall begins to get calcified, or it begins to becomes impenetrable. All right. So just like the plant, when your body goes into dehydration, the outer cell wall gets calcified, the inner cell wall gets calcified. So two things begin to happen. The outer cell wall gets calcified, the inner cell wall gets calcified, and the volume of fluid inside is reduced. So it collapses and it begins to change shape. It begins to lose energy. Now, within that membrane or that H3O2 are a number of minerals, including protein, right? Including sodium, including potassium, including magnesium, and including calcium. Now, there are those compounds, especially sodium, magnesium, and potassium, are very important because they are what gives the cell its electrical value or its electrical ability. In medicine, they refer to them as electrolyte. Now, notice when your electrolyte level drops, you get weak, especially if you're into fitness or if you're into working out. Once your electrolyte, and they're called electrolytes because these are compounds that provide the cells with electricity. They provide the cells with power. These are the cells' power power source. Cells' power source. Now, within the cell membrane, as I said, there's sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium. We're going to focus on three: potassium, sodium, and magnesium. Why focus on these three? Because these three create what we call a pump-like effect in the cells. A pump-like effect in the cells. What do you mean by a pump-like effect? You need to understand, we're going to go back to a little basic biology. The cells of the body function based on a process called osmosis. What is osmosis? Osmosis is the movement of a substance or the movement of a substance from an area of low concentration through to an area of high concentration through what is called a concentration gradient. In this case, the concentration gradient is a cell membrane. Now, what is going to cause an osmotic effect are these minerals. So there is sodium that has what is called a pulling effect. That's the effect in the pump. It has a pulling effect. It pulls minerals, oxygen, and what the cells needs inside the cells. And there's potassium that pushes outside the cells what the cells don't want. So all the waste that the cells don't want, all the junk, all the what we call the waste material that the cells produce during its process, all that waste produced, the cells push it out through the cell wall through potassium. Now, if it is that there is a delicate balance maintained, so there's a delicate balance between sodium and potassium that creates this pushing effect. If that balance is off, then you start to experience disease. So let me give you an example. If it is that the cell is off where there is too much sodium and not enough potassium, what you have is things coming into the cells, but they're not coming out of the cells. So then there's what is called the buildup of toxins because the cell is not able to clean itself. The cell is not able to empty itself. And so there is toxic buildup, which creates mucus, right? And this is at the basic. So when you think about the food that we eat, most of the foods that we eat is either salt or sweet. And so if it is a person is not properly hydrated, because remember, the minerals, and we're going to talk about in the next presentation, the minerals to create this pump-like effect, when this becomes imbalanced, then the person falls into the disease state. Because what happens is that the body is not able to clean itself, the body is not able to cell. And by the way, this is what happens in every cell in the body. Brain cells, liver cells, kidney cells, every cell in the body functions like this. Very important. And so this is why so many persons start to get disease. So the first thing that will happen is that the electrical charge will be reduced, right? You find if it's happening in the brain cells, you're going to have mental fog. You're going to have lightheadedness. You're going to have giddiness. If it happens in the endocrine, you're going to have hormonal imbalance. I mean, and that's hydration, because what's not happening is cellular absorption. If cellular absorption is not taking place, then you have dehydration. You may not feel it in your mouth, because what dehydration looks like in your mouth and what it looks like in your brain is totally different. So those persons who may be having epileptic seizures, those persons who may be having stroke, you know, all of this, guys, is rooted in dehydration. And so I can't emphasize how important that is. And so it's important that there's nutrients uptake, there's a healthy mitochondria inside the cells. Let me just go back there. Inside the cells, there's what is called the mitochondria. Now, as the body dehydrates, there's a loss in electrical charge. There's a loss in nutrient uptake. So there's an imbalance now in nutrient. And that now creates cravings, because a lot of people who are experiencing cravings who think that they have this craving for sugar. No, the body is craving for nutrients, but you interpret it as food. So there's effective toxin, ineffective toxin removal. Let me just go down to the disease cell, since we're talking about disease cell. So there's low electrical charge. There's poor nutrient absorption. All right, poor nutrient absorption. Then begins inflammation, because the cell walls get thick. The cell wall gets thick. And because the cell wall gets thick, then because the cell wall gets thin, and because the cell wall becomes calcified, then guess what? There comes inflammation, reduced detoxification. This is the disease state. This is the disease state. This is where a lot of persons are. And this is where a lot of persons think they need to take a supplement, or they need to take a herb, or they need to take a medicine. And I'm going to talk about that because I want people to understand that the foundation of healing is hydration. The foundation of healing is hydration, and then minerals. So hydration is H3O2 plus M plus A equals hydration. So it is hydration and then nutrition. So it's hydration, then nutrition. That is the foundation of health. And as I said, most persons who practice medicine practice what I call the biomedical approach. What I'm talking to you is the bioelectrical approach. It's understanding that we are a bioelectrical being, and when we are diseased, there's something wrong at a cellular level. We have reduced our cellular voltage. And so what we need to do is we need to begin to get rid of all the acidic foods, because we eat acidic foods, we live in an acidic environment, we drink acidic water. And so the body that is supposed to be neutral is in an acidic state. And if we want to get better, we cannot improve our health by taking more acidic substances as treatments. And that is what is recommended by this biomedical system, a modern medical system. This modern medical system is based on biomedical approach. And what they do is they treat the body by using more acidic compounds. And some persons will say, Dr. Ben, I disagree with you, because we are getting improvement, we are getting better, we are seeing results. How do you respond to that? Don't worry. I'm going to respond to that in the presentation. I really intended for this to be like a hour and a half presentation, but already I'm seeing where it's going to go over. So please bear with me, because it's important to get this message out there. I want to get this message out there. I'm going to try my utmost best to keep it in that 1.5 hour time frame. All right. And so there are a lot of persons who believe in the biomedical approach. And I wanna deal with that now. Why pills don't restore cellular voltage. And don't get me wrong, guys. I'm not one of those persons who hit out against modern medicine. I'm not one of those persons who hit out against prescription drugs. I do believe it has its place. Modern medicine has advanced, and it's not all bad. You know, it has done a lot. So I don't recommend or encourage persons to not listen to their medical doctor's guidance. I'm just saying to persons, use your head. Use your head. They're not 100% correct, but it doesn't mean that there's not a place for them. There is a place for them. I do believe more so in integrative medicine. I do believe in working with medical doctors. because they have so much to contribute. The modern medical system has advanced and progressed so much. And so I do believe that there's a place for them. I'm saying two things. One, that as a client, your health is your responsibility. And I want you to think and to use common sense. Use your common sense. And the second reason why I'm saying that is because there are some chronic ailments where modern medicine excels because of the time that natural medicine is going to work. Natural medicine is effective, but it's a slow medicine. It's because modern medicine is not geared towards remediation. It's more so geared towards prevention. So natural medicine is more of a preventative medical approach. Modern medicine is more of a corrective or a mediative approach. And so there's definitely a place for it. So don't get me wrong. But I want to talk about the problem comes in it where persons begin to turn it the way around. Both, there are a lot of persons who are sick, who have waited until their health has become chronic, and then they want to use natural medicine. And I tell the persons, no, it may be better for you to start out the program, start out your recovery process with Western medicine, listen to the doctor, the advice of your medical practitioner, but thinking at the same time, get stabilized, and then for a long term, find your natural caregiver, and then let them put you on a program that will sustain you. So we're not against that. But I want to talk a little bit about why pills don't restore cellular voltage. And this is where, as I said, modern medicine misses the target. So pills can suppress symptoms. They're very good at suppressing symptoms. And sometimes we need to suppress symptoms to buy time. There's nothing wrong with suppressing symptoms. It becomes a problem, and suppression becomes now a long-term, or when suppression is accepted as a pathway, as a long-term approach, right? Pills are very good at blocking pathways, for example, for pain, right? There are sometimes when persons are in excruciating pain because they have waited until their disease has reached a chronic stage. If you have waited until your disease is chronic, the best approach to get it under control may be to use pills that are excellent pathway blockers. Pills are very good at forcing chemical reactions. So if it is that you're having a condition where in order to stabilize you, in order to get you better, then we may have to induce or force chemical reactions in the body. Pills excel, and that's why I'm saying, guys, don't throw them through the window, because they have a place. Another person's is the disease dictates the medicine. Sometimes it is the disease that dictates the medicine. And so sometimes the medicine can be poison, because what's the difference between poison and medicine? It's just dosage. So poison can be a medicine if it is in a particular dosage, or if it is used over a particular period of time. So you can use the worst poison as medicine in small dosage or for a small period of time to correct the problem, to suppress the symptoms, to block the pathway, to force the chemical reaction. But then that's it. Beyond that, that poison is no longer medicine. It now becomes a poison. Same thing with, so the difference between a medicine and a poison is a dosage. So a poison can be used as a medicine in the right dosage. And a medicine, if used in the wrong dosage, can become poisonous. And that is the reason why, even though your medical doctor will give you a prescription, they will emphasize the dosage, because they know that what they gave to you intending to be a medicine, if you overdose, it becomes a poison. So I'm not against Western medicine. Pills, however, cannot hydrate the intracellular space. Pills cannot restore membranes' electrical charge. Pills cannot rebuild gradients that have been destroyed. And pills cannot repair damaged sodium-potassium pump. So we have to know what can be and what cannot be used. What can be used, what cannot be used. We have to know when to know what. As I was saying to a friend last night, that a lot of persons who come to me, it's common sense. It's really just common sense. Now, if you had a gas tank that was leaking gas, what would make sense? Would it make sense because you park the car and you're leaking gas? And so you park with a full tank, and then when it's time for you to move, it's empty. What's more effective? Is it filling the tank again, or just fixing the problem? Just getting to the root of the problem, fixing the problem, patching that gas tank. You know, our persons believe in filling the tank over and over again, filling the tank over and over again, rather than patching the tank. And that's what a lot of people believe when they come to me. They say, Dr. Ben, you talk too much about hydration, you talk too much about water. What we want right now is something to fix the problem. What we want is to fill the tank up. We don't care about the fact that it's leaking. But what I'm saying to persons, the foundation to having sustainable healing, in this case, would be fixing the gas tank, then filling it with gas, so that when it's time for you to move, it wouldn't be leaked out. So it's not taking something with a herb or supplement. It is fixing the problem. The problem is dehydration. So fixing the problem of dehydration, and then on top of that, now you begin to look at the other issues that are affecting you. And so most pills are electrical neutral. They are electrical neutral, or they are suppressive. Most pills are often dehydrating. And most pills depend on liver processing, not cellular uptake. And that's the reason why after sometimes prolonged use of pills or prolonged use of medications, persons develop issues with their liver, because really and truly what you want to do is not use a process or use a method that depends on the liver processing or the liver working, right, for there to be a benefit. You know, you don't want to use it as a long-term approach. You want cellular uptake. You want to a pill may change blood chemistry, but blood chemistry is not cellular terrain. All right, so you don't want to you don't want to just change your blood chemistry. What you want is cellular terrain. What do you mean by cellular terrain? I'm going to talk about that. You cannot medicate electrically or electricity back into the cells. Very important. You cannot medicate electricity into your cells. You can, as I said, you can suppress symptoms, you can block pathways, you can force chemical reactions, but you cannot medicate electricity back into the cells. And so electricity is a core, is the basis of our healing. It's the basis of our health. That's why when you get a heart attack or you get a serious heart problem and you go into the ER, what they'll do, they do a defibrillator they won't give you a medicine. What they're going to try to do is to restore your electricity. They're going to use a defibrillator and they're going to, boom, pump some volts into you to get your electricity back into your cells. Then they can medicate. So every reaction in the body, every function in the body demands electrical voltage. Very important to understand. So most pills are neutral or suppressive. Most pills are dehydrating, and most pills depend on liver processing, not cellular uptake. And so modern treatment focuses, and that's where, again, you have to understand. A lot of persons use the criteria for Western medicine to measure natural medicines, and you should never do that. Modern medicine or Western medicine is very different from natural medicine. All right, plant-based medicine is very different. And what else? What the difference? One, modern medicine is dosage focus. Right, it's very focused on dosage because it's a very precise medicine. Natural medicine is not dosage focused. As a matter of fact, I tell persons all the time, natural medicine is not an exact science. And so people will come to their, people who study Western medicine will come and they'll talk about what if I overdose? What if I don't? And I'm not saying that you can't, but I'm not saying it's very, very unlikely because it's not an exact science. And so usually, if you take some plants, usually before you overdose, the body would have told you long before. You would have had, you'd have been vomiting, or you'd have been diarrhea, having diarrhea. There are many ways that the body tells you not to consume a particular herb. And then again, most of the herbs that have that potential have deterrents built in them. So most of those bitter herbs, for example, the bitterness is a deterrent telling you not to consume a whole lot, you know. So it's either in the taste or the texture, right? The taste or the texture. Nature builds inbuilt texture, inbuilt taste that acts as natural deterrents, so you don't consume the amount that would lead to overdosing. But Western medicine is very much focused on dosage because it's very exact. You know, I mean, it's very precise. So I never tried to apologize for natural medicine not being an exact science. I never tried to apologize for that, because it's not, you know. And we shouldn't, you know, we shouldn't try to do that. All right. So, as I said, that modern medicine is based on symptom management. Natural medicine is based on root cause, right? It's based on symptom management. And there are times that we need to focus on the symptoms because the person has allowed the disease to reach a chronic stage that even though we want to get to the root, right now we can't focus on the root. We need to stabilize the person. So we have to focus on the symptoms. This is where modern medicine excels. So for persons who wait until their health escalates or escalates to the point where it's now chronic, and they want to look to a natural approach, I'm really sorry to tell you that a natural approach might not be the best option. You need to get to your medical practitioner. They need to arrest the problems because the symptoms now, pain, the symptoms now are at a crisis level. And so we need to arrest that. We need to control that. So modern medicine is symptom management. It's not based on root cause. It's not based on cellular repair. Modern medicine treatments are focused on pain reduction. They're based on marker suppressions. So in modern medicine, they study and they look for certain markers. So if you're diabetic, they look for the markers. They look for, if you're hypertensive, they look for the markers and they make the medication to address those markers. If you're having indigestion, if you're having any ailments, what they do is they look for the markers that are indicative of that disease, indicative of that discomfort. And what they do is they make medications, or they make products that deals with those markers. Modern medicine is also disease labeling, so it focuses on disease. Now, it's good and it's bad. It's good and it's bad. So let me talk about the good. So modern medicine focuses on disease labeling or diagnosing. They're very good at diagnosing, and for most herbal practitioners, that diagnosis or that disease labeling guides them as to how to use a natural approach in resolving it. Right? So, as a natural practitioner, we are not very good at disease labeling. And by the way, I just want to say that for those persons who are practicing a biomedical approach, that disease labeling is very important in helping them. If persons are based on what I call the bioelectrical approach, I mean, it's either here nor there, because once you come and you are sick, how we look at it is we look at it that you're in a disease range. So it doesn't matter if it's cancer, diabetes, or cold or pneumonia. It doesn't matter. Our job is to get you from the disease range into the health range for the body to heal itself. But for practitioners, for herbalists who practice the biomedical approach, this is what happens. So the medical doctor uses the biomedical approach to label the disease so that they can use chemicals to resolve it. The natural practitioner uses the same labeling to resolve it using a natural approach. So the Western medicine practitioner is going to use some form of drug, some form either synthesized chemical or extracted chemicals or something like that to resolve the problem, the natural practitioner is going to use a natural plants, natural chemicals, natural compounds to resolve the problem. But they're still, both of them, is going to treat the disease as a task, healing as a task. They're going to treat healing as a task. So the biomedical Western medicine practitioner, the biomedical herbal practitioner, both of them are going to approach healing as a task. They usually are going to say, you need to take this in order to just, not just get better, but to stay better. In the bioelectrical approach, we are just saying that you are in this range, and we need to move you from this range to the body's healing range for the body to heal itself. I mean, to me, it's much more simple because healing is very complex. The body is very dynamic because there are a number of factors that influences disease and that influence healing. So the state of your mind. No, as I said that, and I want to make it clear that even though physical healing is a involuntary process, mental and spiritual healing is not. If you were traumatized when you were young, if you experienced trauma when you were young, or if the cause of your disease is spiritual, it will not be resolved automatically. It will not be resolved involuntarily. You have to be treated and you have to voluntarily participate. If you were raped, if you were molested, if you saw violence, if you were exposed to trauma, that trauma impacts your health, or it will impact your health. That part of healing, it will impact your physical health, and that is not resolved involuntarily, right? And so that's why I say healing is very dynamic. Healing is very dynamic, and so but as it relates to physical healing, the body heals itself. As a matter of fact, for those persons who have mental or spiritual disease, and sometimes these diseases are at the root of their physical ailments. So hydration won't fix that, guys. If the root cause of your physical ailment is psychological, mental, emotional, spiritual, if the physical disease is rooted in psychological, mental, and spiritual causes, it will not heal voluntarily or involuntarily. It will not. You've got to get help. You've got to seek help. And so there are a number of persons, there are a number of stakeholders that are involved in the healing process. You've got to take your health seriously. All right. And so, but modern medicine is excellent at disease labeling. But what I want to say is that the cell doesn't recognize diagnosis. The cell only responds to condition. And so all the diseases, all the labels that we have, the cancer, the diabetes, the arthritis, all of these diseases that we have labeled, all of these labels exist outside the body. The body does not respond to labels. The body responds to condition. What is the condition of your health? What's happening in your body? That's what the body responds to. The condition, not the labeling. And so, you know, it's very important for us to understand that. And as I said, that is the reason why hydration is so important. If you're living in a part of the world, right now, there's various degrees of water that is out there. So for persons who are living in the States, in the description of this video, hydration is so important that in the description of this video, I have a link to a great deal of springs across the US. However, if you don't have springs, if you don't have access to springs, I want to share with you a machine that can help to provide water that is hydrating. And you know, I used to apologize one thing I'm grateful for is the fact that I've made adjustments. I've done what I could do to make it affordable. So it's about $3,000 something. But when you go to our website, there is a payment plan where for as little as, depending on your credit, as little as $100, as little as $30, you can get this machine and you can be able to get the quality water that you need.
Contains hormones, pesticides, and heavy metals that no basic filter can remove. But this Japanese technology can. The Vesta H2 eliminates all 249 tested contaminants, including the toughest ones, like arsenic and chromium-6 that other filters leave behind. Independent EPA certified labs verified every single result. Beyond filtration, you get hydrogen-infused water that research shows neutralizes harmful free radicals and supports cellular hydration. The alkaline, mineral-rich water tastes amazing and helps balance your body's pH naturally. With a 90-day performance guarantee, there's zero risk. Protect your family's health with the Vesta H2 Water Ionizer today.
All right, so guys, if you're interested, just reach out to me and I will tell you just how you can get that. And so, as I was saying, if the environment is hostile, there are two things that the body does very well. The body heals itself and the body protects itself. A lot of what we misconstrue as disease is the body's attempt to heal itself. A lot of what we call disease is the body's ability to heal itself. And so the cell protects itself. Healing shuts down. So when healing shuts down, then the disease progresses. If the environment is restored, healing resumes automatically. No negotiation required. I mean, I can't tell you if this. I promise not to prostitute this knowledge. Not to. I could have gone the route of just doing it for you, seeing people get healed and seeing people telling people about what I'm doing. But that's not my goal. You know, it's not my goal. This is too good of a news to keep to yourself, to myself. I want person to understand that the foundation of healing is hydration. And this is something that you can take into your own hands. And so earlier I spoke about the terrain versus symptoms or versus treatment. The fact that modern medicine is a treatment model. Conventional medicine is a treatment model. But I want to ask personally a question. What drugs treat disease? What drugs out there treat disease? Drugs target symptoms. They offer short-term relief, and they create long-term dependency. Most of you who are taking that knows that. It targets the symptoms, so you do feel better. Yeah, you do feel better. As I said, persons ask me, I do take products that help me. What do you have to say about that? Because I was in this particular state, and since I've started taking these products, quote unquote products, I feel much better. What do you have to say about that, Dr. Ben? Well, you're going to feel better because those products target symptoms. They target markers. And so because they're targeting the markers, they are going after the symptoms, not the root cause. However, that feeling that you get is going to be short term, which is why, I found that the system has trained persons into wanting to feel better. We have a wanting to feel better society, not a getting better society. Now, I'm not focused on helping persons to feel better. I'm looking for persons who want to get better. Most persons who have been on these products for a long period of time know that it creates long-term dependency. And long-term dependency creates cha-ching. That's why it's created that way. It's created to make you feel better because we are creatures of habits. And so if we feel better, then we're going to want to chase that feeling. We're going to want to feel better. And most persons are lazy. Most persons don't want to put in the work. Most persons don't want to do what is necessary to get better. And so the system knows that. So what it does is that it creates a culture of people who want to feel better. And after a while, you start to feel better. it becomes a habit to want to feel better. And so it creates long-term dependency. What I want to tell you about is getting to the problem at its root. I'm sharing with you what I call cellular indigenous wisdom. And so why is the cell unable to heal? Why is the cell unable to heal? Because there's no targeted hydration, there's no mineral, there's no voltage, there's no oxygen. And so that's why these persons are not healing. And so once you begin to provide target hydration, once you begin to provide minerals, once you begin to provide voltage and oxygen, then you have not only regeneration, but you have long-term regeneration. You have sustained health. That is what we are supposed to have. Sustained health. Disease is not the enemy, as I said to persons. Disease is not the enemy. A lot of persons who have disease think that disease is an enemy. No, disease is not your enemy. If you want to have an enemy, let me tell you what should be your enemy. Your habit. If you want to have an enemy, your enemy should be your habit. If the fear that people had for disease, they could transfer it to their habit. If the hatred that people had for disease, they could transfer it to their habit, this world would be a better place. And so your disease is not your enemy. Your disease is how the body is telling you that something is wrong. Your real enemy is your habit. It's not any problem. Most of you know, most persons know that drugs, cocaine is wrong for them. But guess what? It has now become a habit. Right? If you stop taking that cocaine, your health begins to reverse. You begin to get better. You begin to feel better. So your disease is not your enemy. A lot of persons believe cancer is their enemy. No, cancer is not your enemy. Cancer is your friend. Cancer is the body telling you that something is wrong. Diabetes is telling you that something is wrong. I'm going to pick up this in next week's presentation and we talk about the cellular voltage hydration and the roots of disease. This is the root of disease. And so it's important for us to understand that terrain collapse is the cause. Terrain collapse, the collapse of the body's terrain, the body's system. And so if we restore the terrain, we are going to restore healing. If we restore terrain, we're going to restore healing. And so the terrain is electrical, not just chemical. Why is the cell unable to heal? As I said, target hydration, minerals, voltage. Once these ingredients are missing, your terrain is going to collapse. And so you're going to become diseased, you're going to sick. Terrains include structured waters inside the cell. That's part of the terrain. Terrain includes mineral balance, a delicate balance between sodium, potassium, and magnesium. That's one reason why most people are sick, is because of this imbalance. Most of the foods out there is high in sodium. Most of the people, there's an imbalance, and usually there's a high sodium in the body, which is what leads to high blood pressure and a myriad of diseases. Then there's electrical charge across the membrane of the cell. And then there's oxygen delivery. And then there's waste removal. If these ingredients, if this terrain is not balanced, you are going to have disease. You are going to have disease. And so when there is an adequate amount of structured water inside the cells, when there is mineral balance inside the cells, sodium, potassium, magnesium, when there is electrical charge across the cell membrane, when there is oxygen delivery in the cells, when there is waste removal in the cells, then guess what happens? The following are optimized. So inflammation is resolved. Inflammation is resolved. A lot of people who are feeling pain, who are feeling discomfort, who are having a lot of swelling and so on, it's because of inflammation. And so once you begin to hydrate the body, water is one of the greatest pain killers out there. Water is the body's first pressure regulator. It regulates pressure inside the body. And so a lot of persons who are on prescription products and diabetic products and cancer products, a lot of these products, you need to understand it's targeting markers. It's designed to give short-term results. It is habit forming. If you want to get results, you want to get to the root cause. And once you begin to hydrate the body, I'm so happy. I saw somebody yesterday, and I was talking to my wife, and she was telling me about a member of staff who was saying, because so many, all the persons that are in our team have switched to this program. And so a member of our team was sharing with my wife that she no longer has cravings. She no longer has cravings. Our cravings are gone. My cravings are gone. I used to have a serious craving for sugar. And a lot of times it is parasite, but a lot of times it is imbalance in the body. Those persons, because the body knows what it wants now. So the body craves nutrients. That's why some people eat leaves, some people eat earth, some people eat charcoal, some people eat charcoal. A lot of people, they will, just like the animal who eats the grass, instinctively they will begin to go on the hunt for what is going to help them. But as soon as the body begins hydrating, inflammation is resolved, hormones begin to normalize. A lot of women who have hormonal imbalances, a lot of men who have hormonal imbalances, is rooted in dehydration. A lot of people, immunity strengthens. A lot of people have a weak immune system. Once they begin to hydrate, then their immune system goes up. As I said, there are herbs also that help, but a lot of times it's based on hydrating. So hydration is the basis of healing. So for some persons, tissues begin to repair itself because, as I said, the body heals itself. The body heals itself, guys. It's an involuntary process. It doesn't really require our involvement. And so once we provide the body with the raw material it needs, once we provide the body with the environment it needs, then guess what? It heals itself. So cells don't lose their ability to heal. Cells don't forget to heal. The body doesn't forget how to heal itself. The body has intelligence that was passed on, as I said, from our mother. Our mother passed on intelligence to us. That intelligence is stored. So for all those young girls, as you overcome flu, as you overcome chicken pox, as you overcome all the ailments that are symptomatic and asymptomatic, as your body overcomes them, young girls, your body has a directory that it is storing all of these information. It's storing how it overcame. And imagine when you become mothers and you begin to breastfeed, that newborn infant starts out with a plus. All of that information stored in your body is passed on to that baby. That's why breastfeeding is so important. That's why the longer you can afford to breastfeed is the healthier. Some of you who are sick weren't breastfed. So you don't have that immune intelligence in you. And that's why you'll see when a baby is born and they can't be breastfed, that baby is underdeveloped, that baby will have brain issues, that baby will have all types of medical issues because that baby didn't start out with the information, with the benefit of the information from their mother being passed on to them. So they're going to have to develop that on their own. And so because of that, they're going to have a lot of health issues. And so cells don't lose their ability to heal. They lose the conditions required to heal. Healing is involuntary, healing is automatic, and healing is electrical driven. Pills may manage disease, but terrain restoration enables healing. Fix the environment and the cell will do the rest. Guys, I want to thank you for being with me. I hope that what I shared wasn't too much. I'm glad that I was able to stay within my 1.5 hour allotted time frame. And I can't wait to share with you next week. If you have any questions, please drop them on the on the chat, and I'll deal with the questions. I'll have a session for those questions, and I'll answer them. But I want to thank you for being with me. I hope, as I said, what I shared was empowering. We want to hear from you. So please WhatsApp us. These are our numbers. If you call and you don't get us, please. Some persons want my number, but as other persons, my number is not the best number to get because I'm most of the time always busy. But it was really nice being with you. And next week, we continue our look on the cellular voltage hydration and the roots of disease. Thank you, and I hope that this presentation was a blessing to you. Until next week, your health is your responsibility, and the greatest weapon against sickness and disease is education, not medication. Bye-bye.